Hello everyone. Today I wanted to record a video talking on the topic of whether or not awakening will cure your chronic illness, right? So if you're interested in the topic of awakening, then I won't need to explain it. But if you don't know what the word awakening means, it's waking up out of the identification with mind, with thoughts, and the separation between you and an external reality. One way to describe it. It's not perfect, but basically I want to explore the idea of whether, if you're struggling with a chronic illness like long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain, POTS, IBS, I don't know, man, any chronic illness, right? What is the relationship with that and being on the awakening path? Is pursuing awakening to deeper and deeper stages going to liberate you from your symptoms, or is your chronic illness something that's going to remain with you even throughout the awakening process? I guess that's the question we're exploring here, and I want to share my perspective on that, because this is really the crux of what I like to dive into on this YouTube channel, is not purely only awakening and not purely only healing from your chronic symptoms, but the intersection of these two topics, you could say. Because for me, they were inextricably linked. And I guess that's the point. One of the points here is that one can lead into the other, right? So for me, it was chronic illness and chronic health issues and the symptoms alongside that, and the challenges and the suffering alongside all of that was what pushed me down the awakening path, so to say. You know, I started meditating and getting curious about the nature of mind, the nature of thoughts, the nature of consciousness. What is this experience of being me? Why do I suffer? That was one aspect of it, the curiosity. But it was the suffering that was driving me into meditation, right? The fact that I got so sick that I couldn't distract myself with the usual human distractions anymore really accelerated my interest in awakening, to say. So from my experience, the awakening path played a big role in my healing from chronic illness. But it's not so simple just to say that awakening will cure your physical symptoms, because what can also happen, and this is, I've come across many stories like this and spoken to people like this as well, is your awakening can also trigger a lot of physical symptoms as part of the deeper stages of the process, as part of the integration, as part of the kind of, you know, the emotional trauma work side of awakening, which is like you can't ignore that, but you can't ignore that, but it might come into your life as a chronic illness, right? So it's more nuanced than that, right? So from one side, awakening can be a very powerful thing to pursue in releasing your suffering, right? It was for me. What happened was, through breaking identity with the thinking mind, through a mixture of extended meditation and self-inquiry and understanding the nature of resistance, understanding the resistant nature of thought, all of these things together was key for me to break out of the chronic illness loop that was causing my symptoms, and it was keeping me stuck, and it was keeping me stuck in fear, and the fear was shooting my symptoms. That whole paradigm was broken through pointing and teachers and people talking about awakening. So this is why I talk about it, because it played such a big role in my healing journey. But it's interesting exploring the space, because awakening happens in all different ways for all different people, and the stages come in different ways. whereas for me, it was like the physical symptoms led to awakening, whereas for somebody else, it might be you do a lot of meditation and you have some shifts and you have some experiences of a more direct presence. And then after that, all of the shadow work comes up, right? All of the stuff that's been repressed beneath the thoughts, right? We've managed to live in the head for so long that we became disconnected from the physical trauma, the repressed emotions that create that whole need to live in thought and create an illusory world of separation and self. That when that breaks through the first awakening, and it could happen through meditation or blah 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 blah, like you're on the path, you could experience a lot of intense physical stuff, right? And then I've heard of many people who then have a chronic illness, who then end up with something mysterious like chronic fatigue or whatever. These like intense bodily symptoms that are debilitating. So it can go that way as well, right? So that's why awakening is not like a, like take this pill to cure your symptoms. What it's going to do is it's going to bring you into direct contact with everything that needs to be felt, with everything that you've been running from. And the deeper the path goes, the less and less coping mechanism you have to avoid anything. It just falls away, right? The ability to run away from experience, it stops being an option. So you could have more direct contact with your symptoms. But the key is you're getting to the roots here, right? You're going towards that which is already trapped in your system, and you're not kind of building more layers and layers of identity and thought and avoidance and resistance on top of it. So even though your symptoms can get worse, I would say it's still an important part of the process. Now, what I want to touch on is the question of, is awakening something you should pursue if you're stuck with a chronic illness and you come across this video or any of my other videos where I mention the idea of awakening? Is it something that's worth pursuing? And is it going to help you to heal from your chronic illness? This, I think, is an important question. And one point is you have to trust your own intuition here, because that's the key to awakening, really, is if it calls you, if it resonates with some part inside of you that's very curious about wanting to know the true nature of who you are beyond thoughts, of what is the actual kind of emerging place of consciousness, right? Whatever it is curiosity. Well, why do you suffer, right? If this question triggers something inside of you, that's the best sign of whether awakening is worth pursuing or not, right? You can't force it if it doesn't bite, right? The other aspect of it, though, is even if it doesn't, if you're struggling with chronic illness, I still think awakening out of pure identification with thought is such a powerful thing to learn, right? So you don't even have to call it awakening. It can just be investigating the idea of identifying with thoughts. Because once you can get beneath the thought layer, you can really start to do the deep work of symptom release, of emotional release, right? All these kinds of things. Often we're bound up in this layer of thought that's saying, I don't understand, I don't know how to do this, I'm going to be stuck forever. That kind of conceptual layer is, to break free from that through awakening, is so helpful to help you heal from your symptoms as well, right? So that's another point, is even if awakening doesn't feel like something that's so important to you, I think it can be really important to break free. Like, I think it's going to benefit everybody, basically, to break free from thoughts. And you're already suffering, you're already stuck, you're already struggling, right? For some people, awakening is not worth pursuing because it's very destabilizing, right? You're kind of pulling the rug out from underneath everything that you think you know about yourself and your relationship to the world and the world that you perceive out there. So it can be very destabilizing. But if you're already so stuck, that's sometimes the exact fuel that you need to break out of it, is to really take all that suffering and start to investigate who is the one that the thoughts are all about, or where does a thought arise from. So yeah, I think that kind of covers it. The point is, awakening is not going to magically erase your chronic illness, but it can play a major role in the healing path. And it was important for me, which is why I like to try to incorporate it along with the other healing stuff that I share. Because I don't see a lot of other people talking about this in both camps, right? I don't see people in the awakening camp talking about navigating a chronic illness alongside it, right? You get people like Angelo DeLulo talking about the shadow work, and that can be can manifest as very physical trauma, which can be symptoms, right? You can extrapolate it all the way along. But yeah, it's like mixing this with the brain retraining approach of incorporating activity again and all of that kind of stuff. That's what I'm trying to do here, is incorporate all of these different ideas. And then lastly, what I wanted to say is, on the other side, I don't see many people in the chronic illness healing space, chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID healing space, talking about this deeper shift, right? This deeper, you can really realize that you're not the one driving the dream bus of your life, right? Incorporating non-duality, no self, these kind of deeper truths of the nature of reality can be very powerful on your path. So yeah, take that however it lands for you. If it's interesting, one of the best teachers that I know talking about the topic of awakening is Angelo DeLulo. His channel is Simply Always Awake. He's got a book, right? Like, if you like, what is awakening? I want to explore this. That's a great resource. If you're not, then you can still use these videos, and awakening can just stew in the background because it doesn't have to be even esoteric, right? It's about realizing and releasing resistance in one way, a simplified way. That's what it was for me. It was like realizing the truth of the relationship between resistance and suffering. That's the best way I can put it. The more I studied the more I studied resistance, and in that I was studying suffering, but the more that I studied resistance, the clearer it became what was causing suffering in my experience. And isn't that what we all want to get to the root of in the end, is suffering? Isn't that the whole human project? Is to find peace and avoid suffering. And yet we find ourselves in the life is suffering space, right? So yeah, I hope that provides something helpful for somebody on the path. Good luck. If you want one-on-one coaching in either the awakening or the healing space, check out my website in the link. I do offer one-on-one coaching. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.